Welcome back. All right, so 10 games tonight, 10. And some of these, well, it's just, it's further proof that there's some teams that are definitely having rough seasons, and it doesn't look to be getting better. In fact, we're going to start things off with, I think, the most egregious of the night. And for Buffalo fans, again, you're looking for positives, right? They're hard to find right now. So the Islanders wearing their thirds tonight, for what it's worth. I like tracking what jerseys teams are wearing just because it's fun. I think this is the first time they've worn their thirds this year. The shots were 6-3 Islanders, 6.5 minutes in, so they were the better team. And then Noah Dobson scores from Everly and Barzal at 9:25. And again, so Buffalo starts slow. Now they're behind. The Islanders get a power play. Johansson denies Nelson. Eakin then had a shot that was stopped by Sorokin. Puck goes the other way. Matt Martin, who had a big night, he scores from Cizikas and Beauvillier at 16:21. And then in the last minute of that period, the Islanders get a power play. It's all Islanders, and there's a lot of shots. Second period, the Sabres killed off the remainder of that power play. Hall would then score from Eakin at 3 minutes and 8 seconds. But again, the Sabres are just allowing too many shots. They're not getting enough of their own. That's a combination that's going to sink most teams. And the Islanders just kept peppering the net. And while Johansson had a very good game, at some point it's going to fall apart because there's just too many shots. Beauvillier scores from Lee and Bailey at 14:58. That makes it 3-1. So you go to the third period, and I put the Sabres might be getting worse because through the first two periods they had 11 shots. You're looking for fight back. You're looking for some semblance of things getting better, and it's not there. Everly then scores from Lee at 3 minutes and 14 seconds. We then get power plays back and forth and extended 4-on-4. It showed the Sabres with a power play, but according to the official game summary, they're saying Buffalo never had one. So either way, Ristolainen would score from Eichel and Reinhart. That's an even strength goal at 7:23. So Eichel on the board. Ristolainen with a goal. Hall gets a goal in this game, but that made it 4-2. The Islanders then get a power play. They don't score on that. But Matt Martin would score from Cizikas at 14:28. And that depth scoring from New York is key. And it's one of the reasons why the Cizikas, Clutterbuck, Martin line, I've always been really impressed with it. Games like this, they often come up big. The Islanders go to 13-6-4. Buffalo goes to 6-12-3, and these teams meet again on Saturday. And 3 stars in this one. Martin, Eberle, Cizikas. Shots in this one, 18-6 in favor of the Islanders in the first, 14-5 Islanders in the second, 13-7 Islanders in the third. Final shots, 45-18 for the Islanders. The Islanders had 3 power plays, did not score on them. The hits, Buffalo out hits them 26-13. That's one of those instances where I'll say, okay, that may be because they didn't have the puck as often. So if your team has the puck and you hit somebody, probably interference. Blocked shots were 10-8 in favor of the Islanders. Johansson, 40 saves on 45 shots. Sorokin saves 16 out of 18. He doesn't get a shutout, and he gets a victory. It's got to feel weird for Elias Sorokin. Got to be thinking, but I allowed a puck in the net tonight. Doesn't that mean we're going to lose? What do you mean we won? Weird. Rangers. You know, this game was different. So you'll look and you'll say, well, Buffalo and New Jersey, and they're both just falling off. And it's true, but New Jersey played well tonight. And the score doesn't show it. So this is one of those rare games where the score doesn't necessarily tell the whole story. The shots were 2-1 for the Devils at 7 minutes. And then Hughes scored from Vatanen at 7:12. The Rangers get chances at 9 minutes. Kulikov ends up hitting the post. Power play for the Devils. Goal line stand by Shesterkin during that power play. And in the last minute, Blackwell was denied. But honestly, really good game for the Devils in that first period. They played very, very well. Second period, Devils get some chances 3.5 minutes in. Power play for the Rangers, and this is where it starts. The Chris Kreider show. He scores on the power play from Strome and Buchnevich at 8:28. He then scores again from Lindgren and Strome at 13:57. So when Panarin went out, I said, this would be a good time for Kreider to start scoring goals. I had no idea. None. Devils get a power play. They don't score on it. We go to the third period. Kreider scores from Hedel at 23 seconds. So that is a natural hat trick, boys and girls. 3 goals in a row, same player. And yeah, that says a lot about how well Kreider played. Shesterkin then denied Hughes because Shesterkin was having a pretty good game. Buchnevich would score from Lafreniere at 3 minutes and 57 seconds. Now, it's a good news, bad news situation. Shesterkin denies Hughes. Buchnevich scores from Lafreniere. Smith then had a fight with McLeod. And in and around this period, Shesterkin was carried off the ice. We haven't heard an update yet from the Rangers. I did a quick pause and check to see if there was any update from the Rangers. I haven't seen anything yet. Nothing on their social media about Shesterkin's condition. Power play then for the Devils. Another Rangers power play. They don't score on that, but Smith would score from DiGiuseppe and Rooney at 15:25, and then Lafreniere scored from Zibanejad at 18:27. So Alexis Lafreniere, a goal and an assist tonight. The points are coming. He's starting to pick it up. The Rangers win this one 6-1. They go to 9-9-3. For the Devils, they're 7-10-2. And yeah, it's a long season now for the Devils and for the Sabres. 3 stars: Kreider, Shesterkin, who again didn't finish the game, Strome, and then the shots: 14-6 New Jersey in the first, 9-6 New Jersey in the second, 13-6 New Jersey in the third. Final shots: 36-19 in favor of the Devils. So that's why Shesterkin gets a star. Power plays 1 for 2 for the Rangers, 0 for 4 for New Jersey. Hits 18-17 New Jersey. Blocked shots 13-4 for the Rangers. Shesterkin saves 32 out of 33. Georgiev went in, and coming in cold, he saved all 3 shots he faced. Blackwood saves 11 out of 15. He's replaced by Aaron Dell, who saves 2 out of 4. And an odd off night for Blackwood, who's been one of the most consistent goalies since he came in. Just chalk that up as great night for Kreider, and not much the Blackwood could do about it. All right, moving along. Detroit. So Detroit had a really good road game tonight. Again, score's not going to show that. Detroit played really well, and then Carolina went, okay, that's enough of that. So early chances for the Canes. They were wearing their black thirds. Detroit was wearing their reverse retros. The reverse retros have rough records around the NHL. And the shots were 4-1 for the Canes at 4 minutes. But it's Philip Zadina who's been fighting it. And Steve Yzerman has said, I'm not worried about it because he's getting chances. He's playing well. As long as he's getting chances and playing well, we're not worried about goals and assists. He scores from Nemesnikov and Gagne at 10:54. The Canes then get a power play, and they score on it. It's Svechnikov from Hamilton and Stahl at 11:15. So they had a lead, and then it went away because Carolina's a fast strike team that way. Power play then for the Wings. Strong first period for the Wings, but during that power play, there was a shorthanded chance for Aho as well. But it's 1-1 after 1. Wings will take that. Second period. Early save by Bernier, who, again, had a pretty good game to that stage. Power play for the Red Wings. That gets killed off. The Red Wings get another power play, and they score this time. So the Detroit power play is alive. And for the last, I'll say 2 weeks, it's looked pretty good. Zadina scores from Ernie and Svechnikov at 7:35. So as amazed as Zadina looked at finally getting a goal in the first, he looked just as happy in the second to get another and put Detroit up 2-1. We get a power play then for the Canes. That doesn't score. Ernie had a decent chance. That was saved at the other end. And then it's Nachas scoring from Trocheck and Niederreiter at 18:45. So, again, they get the lead. They lose the lead. This is something that Detroit that's going to happen. Then in the third period, it didn't take long for Carolina to take over the game. Stahl scores from Fast and Hamilton at 45 seconds. And then Fast scores from Svechnikov and Stahl at 2 minutes and 50 seconds. So Jordan Stahl with a goal and an assist. And then there's an empty netter, Niederreiter from Nachas and Slavin at 14:55. The Wings would get a late power play, but they fall in this one 5-2. Carolina goes to 16-6-1 as 3 teams in that division continued to just rise up above the rest. And for Detroit, 7-16-3 is their record. 3 stars: Stahl, Svechnikov, and Jesper Fast. Shots in this one: 11-8 Detroit in the first, 13-10 Detroit in the second, 14-11 Carolina in the third. Again, Detroit played a very good game, nothing to hang their heads about. Final shots: 35-32 in favor of Detroit. Detroit went 1 for 4 on the power play. Carolina 1 for 2. Hits in this one: 21-18 for Detroit. Blocked shots: 15-12 for Detroit. Bernier 27 saves on 31 shots. Nedeljkovic continues his amazing run, 33 saves on 35 shots. Peter Mrazek, take all the time you need. Don't worry about it. The net is perfectly fine and safe with the 2 goaltenders they have. And again, for Carolina, game you need to win, they win it. So there you go. Because the other 2 teams at the top of this division, they're not backing off either. Next up, Philadelphia and against Pittsburgh. This was the game that was over, and then it wasn't. So the Penguins wearing their thirds. Again, notable which jerseys teams are wearing. Kind of fun to look at. Raffle caught Kapanen in the head. And it's one of those things that I don't think it was on purpose, but Kapanen looked kind of shaken up on the play. Stays in the game. Letang then scores at 2:46. And then Mark Friedman, he scores at 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Friedman had a very eventful game. And then Pittsburgh makes it 3-0. McCann from Kapanen and Malkin at 3:57. We're less than 4 minutes into the first period of this game. Pittsburgh's up 3-0. Pittsburgh doesn't go up 3-0 in first periods this year. This is completely unique. And I thought, wow, this could be the best game Pittsburgh's played all season. This looks fantastic. Looks like they're going to build on their last win. And then they didn't. So on the goal, McCann broke his stick. He also crashed into the boards. Philadelphia calls a timeout. Alain Vigneault calls a timeout. Does not replace Brian Elliott. Shows a vote of confidence in his goaltender but not replacing, which is fine because the 3 goals, bad bounces off Flyers' gloves. Like, there's nothing that really you could point to Elliott and say, well, that was his fault. So, the Penguins get a power play. The Flyers being very physical in this game. This was a very physical game for both teams. Friedman then gets boarded. He exits. Giroux had a chance that went high. The Flyers get a power play and they score on it. It's Couturier at 11:32. And it felt like that was important because suddenly it's a 2-goal lead, right? The Flyers get another power play. They don't score on that. But we go into the second period, it's 3-1. Friedman runs into Patrick, makes his second exit. Looks like he got concussed on that. And again, it's Friedman ran into Patrick. I don't see anything there that I think player safety says anything about. Their player safety's already tweeted out about something that happened in here. We'll talk about that tomorrow. It's one of those weird things where they'll tweet out, this guy's been fined. Now? In the middle of the night? Okay, all right, fine. Did you wake him up to tell him? So, Giroux would score from Lindblom and Aube-Kubel at 6:49. And suddenly it's 3-2. Lots of hard hits. And just both teams really throwing the body in this one. This is a series that if we see this in the playoffs, there's going to be some injuries. So we go to the third period. Third period power play for the Penguins. Raffle was tripped and there was no call. I thought that was clear. They don't call it. But Lawton scores from Giroux at 13:37. And then as the game's getting close and you're saying, we're probably going to go to overtime, which is what I thought. I was flipping back and forth between this one and the Tampa-Chicago game. I thought, well, this one's going to go to overtime. It doesn't. Giroux scores from Aube-Kubel and Lindblom at 17:52. That makes it 4-3 for Philadelphia. Suddenly, Pittsburgh's behind. Penguins pull their goalie with a minute left, and then in the last seconds of the game, Brian Elliott makes some big saves. Philadelphia wins this in regulation 4-3 when they were behind 3-0, less than 4 minutes in the first period. This is a fantastic game. This could be a turning point for both teams. With that loss at 12-9-1, Pittsburgh right now as we speak, they're below the playoff line. Philadelphia 12-5-3. Got to feel pretty good about themselves, and rightfully so. So the 3 stars in this one, Giroux, Aube-Kubel, and McCann. Shots were 11 apiece in the first, 13-10 Philly in the second, and in the third, 11-8 Philadelphia. They did outplay them after that 3-0 deficit. Final shots, 35-29 for Philly. Power plays, Philadelphia 1 for 2, Pittsburgh 0 for 2. Hits, 42-38 for Philadelphia, so 80 hits in this game. Block shots, 9-6 in favor of Philadelphia, so not a lot of blocks going on. Elliott saves 26 out of 29. Again, he rebounds from that slow start. And Jarry, 31 saves on 35 shots. Not too shabby by Jarry either, but in the end, the win goes to the Philadelphia Flyers. And that's, again, that might be one of those wins Philadelphia looks back on in, say, a month and says, that's what started things going our way. Now I need to change boards. All right, now up to one of the Canadian matchups for tonight. There were 3 of them, because This seems to be how things are working this week. I love the scheduling. It seems like all of a division, or in the Canadian case, you can't have all the division playing, but it feels like all the division teams are playing at the same time. So Winnipeg in against Montreal, and Montreal wearing their reverse retros. And again, Montreal has not won wearing their reverse retros, so judge it that all you will. I still think they're very nice jerseys. I still think they're really sharp. Wouldn't mind getting a name and number kit for mine of Suzuki and throw that on it, but we'll see. Jets had the early jump, but the shots by the time you hit the 5-minute mark were five apiece. So Montreal bounced back from a slow start. Jets press 8 minutes in. Allen denies Connor. However, Stastny scores from Wheeler and Pionk at 10:39. And then Tyler Toffoli with what I qualify as a WTF turnover, a terminology I used in a review video a couple weeks ago, and I'm using it regularly now. A WTF turnover to Perreault, and at 15:25, Perreault puts it in. And it's one of these things where sometimes a player will go with the drop pass or the blind pass, and I'll talk about that when I get to the game with the Canucks, where there was a simpler, easier, safer play, and sometimes those are the ones that when they're turnovers, they look way worse than your standard turnover. So it's 2-0 Winnipeg after one. Second period, there was a home run pass to Perry that it's a near miss on that one. The Habs get a power play, and they do score on it. Brendan Gallagher, he scores from Tatar and Perry at 9:53. With that goal, he ties, I think it's Yvon Lambert that he tied on the all-time goal-scoring list for Montreal, so not too shabby. The Habs press with 7 minutes left. The Jets get a power play. It does not score. And then Tyler Toffoli makes up for the WTF turnover in the first period by scoring in the second from Suzuki and Drouin at 16:53. So Suzuki on the board, Drouin on the board. Drouin had a pretty good game. We go to the third. It's a tie game. Forbert, through the first two periods, had 11 blocked shots. 11. And that's a lot of blocked shots. And it was his birthday. So for his birthday, he decided to give himself bruises and welts. I don't judge. I really don't. I'm just here to report on it. So Stastny scores from Scheifele at 3:39. That gives the Jets their second lead of the night. Power play then for the Jets. Montreal did kill it off. The shots were 5-5 with 6 minutes left. So very defensive third period until it wasn't. It was a fast third. It looked like the Jets were trying to kill the clock. Rightfully so. It's a good idea. Goalie pull with 2 minutes left, and they score. Montreal scores with the goalie pull. Perry from Drouin Petrie at 18:36, a goal that was initially given to Drouin. Last time I checked the app, it gave it to Perry. And when I put these goals on the board, it's the official NHL app I use for it. So that's the app I use. In overtime, Allen denied Connor twice. Kyle Connor with fantastic chances. Jake Allen was great. Byron was then denied at the other end. And then it's Dubois. Dubois scores from Ehlers and Connor at 4:29. So that's three forwards combining on that goal. Winnipeg wins it in overtime. Montreal still winless in overtime. They fall to 10-6-6. Winnipeg goes to 15-7-1. 31 points for the Jets. 3 stars, Dubois, Stastny, and Drouin. Your shots, 10-9 Winnipeg in the first, 13-5 Montreal in the second, 10-7 Montreal in the third, and in the overtime, 5-4 in favor of Winnipeg. Very fast overtime. 36-27 were the final shots in favor of Montreal. Winnipeg 0-2 on the power play. Montreal only had the one power play, and they scored on it. So the hits, 42-24 for Montreal. The block shots, 21-14 for Winnipeg. So Montreal played a very physical game. Winnipeg fought their way through it. Hellebuck, 33 saves on 36 shots. Jake Allen, 23 saves on 27 shots. And when I saw his stat line, I thought, this is the thing. It's not all on Carey Price. And in between periods, they talked about how the defense for Montreal and defensive play of some of their forwards just has to be better. And I can't find fault with that. And it's the same thing that we've said for Montreal going back into last season, where Price's numbers weren't necessarily great, but there were too many 2-on-1s, 3-on-2s, and turnovers going on in front of them. So we'll see if Montreal gets that straightened out before their next game. All right, next up, Tampa. So the Tampa Bay Lightning in against the Chicago Blackhawks. This might have been the best game of the night. This may very well have been the best game of the night. Lots of shots, lots of chances. Both goaltenders were really quite good in this. And I think Chicago proved something in this. I know that the end result doesn't necessarily turn out in their favor, but I think Chicago showed they can hang with Tampa. Tampa Bay presses at 4 minutes. Then Kane and DeBrincat had a 2-on-1 that was a near miss. Vasilevsky, Lankinen, both very sharp in that first period. Lots of big saves. And a very evenly played, fast game in that first period. Not a lot of whistles. Lots of chances at both ends of the rink. Both goaltenders looking good. We go to the second scoreless, but it's a fun game. Vasilevsky would deny Suter. Kane had a near miss at 5 minutes. Patrick Kane had a number of near misses tonight. Kurashev was denied. The Hawks were in control. Tampa Bay then gets a power play. And what happens? Carpenter gets a shorthanded goal from Hagel at 7 minutes and 24 seconds. So Carpenter's kind of heated up goal-scoring-wise lately. Lankinen then denies point. Vasilevsky stopped a shot from Janmark, but DeBrincat gets on the board again. He scores from Kane and Murphy at 14:04. So that lethal combination strikes after being close to striking in the first. It's 2-0 Chicago. Tampa Bay had a chance in the last minute, but the Hawks get a power play at 19:55. And that felt important. Like, okay, so they're going into the third period. They've got a power play. If they can score on that, they go to 3-0. And they can probably kill it from there. Because they were doing very well, and Lankinen was fantastic. But in the third period, at 1:04, Cirelli gets a shorthanded goal from Ruda and Killorn. And that seemed to change everything. Tampa Bay came out in that third period really determined to turn this game around. The Bolts then kill off the rest of the power play. And then it's Stamkos from Gord at 2:55. And from there, it was basically almost all Tampa. Almost. Chicago did have their chances in the third, but Tampa was all over them. It was a snapshot on the face-off win by Stamkos. It was a wow goal. Like, it was nice. The Bolts then pressure for the lead. Ruda got shaken up. Lankinen stopped a chance from Volkov. And there was more pressing by Tampa at the halfway mark. The Hawks got their pressure back on them with 6:30 left, but we ended up going to overtime. It was pretty obvious this was going to overtime as we advanced through the third period. Both teams, playing it as if, okay, we don't want to make a mistake kind of thing. Let's just get that point. So they go to overtime. Vasilevsky denies Keith. Keith, very frustrated with that. And then it was beast mode Kane that was going on out there too. When Patrick Kane plays this way, the best way to describe it is it's almost impossible to get it off of his stick. So when a team does, that's impressive. Post then for DeBrincat. So DeBrincat almost finished it. Then there's a near miss for Stamkos, but with 0.1 second left on the clock. Killorn ends up being the one that's credited with this goal, again, according to the app. It originally was given to Hedman at 4:59. Lankinen stayed on the ice to make sure that the puck went in the net before it hit the 0-0, and it did. 0.1 second left. Tampa wins. They go to 16-4-1. Chicago drops to 12-7-5. But again, it feels like they showed they can hang with Tampa. This is the first of a 3-game set. Chicago, if they can figure out a way to close this out, they could at least take one out of these three. Shots, or 3 stars in this one, were Killorn, Vasilevsky, and Hagel. I did mention that Dubois, Stastny, and Drouin were the... Yeah, I did. Okay. Shots, 11-9 Chicago in the first, 16-8 Chicago in the second, and in the third, 12-7 in favor of Tampa, and in overtime, 5-3 in favor of Tampa. Once they started pushing back, it was really difficult to contain them. Final shots, 37-34 for Chicago. So 5 goals in this game, but 71 shots. Tampa Bay went 0-for-1 on the power play. Chicago 0-for-2. This was not a dirty game. Hits, 41-30 for Tampa. 29-20 for Tampa were the blocks. So they out-hit them. They outblocked them, and they ended up being within 3 shots of them. Vasilevsky saves 35 out of 37. He's fantastic again. Lankinen saves 31 out of 34. Not too shabby at his end of the rink either. I think if Chicago had won this game, Lankinen probably ends up in the 3 stars over Vasilevsky. I think it was that close between the two of them. So again, Chicago showed they can hang with Tampa, and Lankinen showed that he can stand up to any team in the league and be across the ice from Vasilevsky and not be outclassed too badly. So there's a lot of positives here, and for Tampa, just another great game. Being down 2-0 and coming back to win 3-2 in overtime. They've got to feel kind of close to invincible right now. Okay, which can be dangerous. Be dangerous when you start feeling invincible. All right, next up, Florida. So, as I mentioned earlier in this video, the 3 teams at the top of the Central, Showed why they're the 3 teams at the top of the Central: Carolina, Tampa, and Florida. The shots were 4-0 for the Panthers at 2 minutes. Florida's been fighting from behind way too much. Clearly, they decided coming into tonight, let's try to get a lead. Verhaeghe scores from Barkov and Ekblad at 6:29. The Predators try to answer, and the steal of the year has to be Mason Marchment, who scores a goal here. I think he's on a 4-game point streak. He scores from Ekblad at 9:01. And it was one of those nothing trades, right? He's traded for Dennis Malgin going to Toronto. It's whatever, Marchment, not a big deal. He's looked really good. And it was a nice 2-on-1 goal too. So Marchment gets the goal. It's 2-0 Florida after 1. Second period, early. Huberdeau scores from Hornquist at 59 seconds. So Patrick Hornquist continues to just get points upon points upon points. Power play then for the Predators becomes a 5-on-3. They don't score on that. But Ekholm continues his hot streak as he scores from Arvidsson and Yossi at 12:23. But the Panthers would get a power play. And they score again. Ekblad from Huberdeau and Barkov at 18:43. So Huberdeau with a goal and an assist, and he doesn't even end up in the 3 stars because Florida's got some pretty good players here, including Ekblad, who got the goal there. Predators then nearly answered on the next shift, but yeah, in the final minute, Forsberg scores from Arvidsson and Ekholm at 19:34. So Ekholm on the board a couple of times, and while it's 4-2 after 2. Nashville's known as a team that can get that momentum going as well. So early chances for the Panthers. The Predators got close, and then they scored. That was a goal. And everybody celebrates, but then it's challenged as offside. So what do? I put the goal on the board, and when it's challenged as offside, I take the goal off. It is very rare that a goal is challenged for offside, that it's not. It happens, but nowhere near as often as, say, like 2 years ago. 2 years ago was ridiculous. They were always challenging for offsides. And that challenge worked. So, yeah, the goal comes off the board, and that was important because the Predators kept up the push. And if that goal had counted, we might be looking at a Nashville victory. Barkov had a fast break chance that was stopped. Lomberg had a chance that was stopped. He seems to be fitting in much better in Florida than he ever did in Calgary. Rinne denies Vetrano. The Panthers get a power play, and again, they score on it. And who gets the power play marker? Ekblad. Aaron Ekblad, who before our very eyes over the last couple of years has taken that next step. And I'm starting to wonder, does he end up getting a few Norris votes this year? Will we see Ekblad get into that conversation? So he scores from Barkov and Yandel at 9:07, but to their credit, being behind to Florida like this did not take Nashville out of the game. It's Colton Sissons, who maybe he's ready to go on a bit of a streak. He scores from Richardson at 12 minutes and 40 seconds left. Then the crowd kind of didn't react very well to this. 5:30 left. The Panthers get a power play. The Nashville fans disagreed, but Florida gets a power play. They don't score, and so Nashville does get to pull the goalie with about 3 minutes left. They're down by, 2. And then Johansson gets his first of the year. Ryan Johansson finally gets one, puts it in the empty net, as in when the puck's passed to him, he has an open net to throw it into. Arvidsson and Forsberg with the assists at 18:47. So Arvidsson with 2 helpers in this game. That made it 5-4, and you sort of start wondering, but in the end, Florida wins. They go to 14-4-4. Nashville drops to 10-13. So the 3 stars in this one: Ekblad, Barkov, and Ekholm. So if your last name started with Ek, you had a very good chance of being in the 3 stars tonight. Shots, 17-10 Florida in the first, 15-13 Nashville in the second, 10-8 Nashville in the third. Final shots, 38-35 for the Florida Panthers. A lot of shots in this game. It was wide open. Panthers went 2 for 4 on the power play. Nashville went 0 for 2. So the special team's a huge part of the story. Hits, 10-9 in favor of Nashville, so it was a very light hitting game. Block shots, 14-12 for Florida. Bobrovsky saves 31 out of 35. Pekka Rinne saved 33 out of 38. So Bobrovsky, middling numbers. But again, when Bobrovsky has one of those games with middling numbers, Florida outscores the problem. So another big game for Florida, another win, and they just keep moving. And for Florida, Tampa, Carolina, I don't know who's going to win that division, but it's going to be some amazing playoffs. That 2-3 matchup in the Central is going to be fantastic. All right, next up, and last one on this board is Columbus and Dallas. I was convinced Dallas wasn't scoring again tonight. I was convinced Columbus wasn't scoring tonight. I was thinking this game was going to outlast everything else being played. So Hudobin stops a Jenner chance. Roslovic was stopped as well. Really good early play by Columbus. They were up 4-0 in shots at 5 minutes. And then the rest of the period happened. So power play for the Stars. Columbus, they get a turn on their power play. That's killed off. I don't think that one had any shots. And no goals in 8+ periods for Dallas. That's almost 3 full games without a goal for Dallas. Second period, and it looked like two struggling teams. This was a game between two teams that were kind of playing scared. They were playing like they didn't want to lose, like they didn't want to make a mistake. And when teams play like that, it's really obvious. So the shots were 10-8 at the halfway mark of the game. So through 30 minutes, the shots were 10-8 in favor of Dallas. Hudobin denies Domi. Power play for the Stars, that's killed off. Korpisalo denied Ben. And then there were shot blocks by Roslovic as well. Jack Roslovic, a good 200-foot player. And it looked like it was going to be a 0-0 game headed to a shootout until all of a sudden the scoring showed up. First, it's Jenner from Foligno and Savard at 18-11, and I put on the board, does this wake up Dallas? The answer was no. Third period, the drought was over 9 periods for Dallas at this stage, so over 3 games since their last goal. And Bjorkstrand would score to make things worse from, it's an unassisted goal at 2:23. And then Robinson scores from Jenner and Carlson at 4:05. Yes, it's deflected, changed direction, but it went right between the legs of Hudobin. It was kind of an ugly goal. And it's kind of the luck Dallas has been having over the last, I'll say 5-6 weeks. And keep in mind, their schedule is the toughest schedule in the NHL now, that they are playing the most games over shortest period of time. So they don't have the time to have practices and to fix some of the things that are going wrong. They just have to kind of work through it, and it could be tough. But Heiskanen would score from Ben and Pavelski at 7:35. And that's important. Heiskanen gets his first of the season. Dallas finally gets on the board. And that seemed to turn things around a little bit. Robertson would score from Lindell and Klingberg at 10:48. So they went over 3 games between goals, and then it was about 3 minutes between goals after that. So it's 3-2. Bemstrom had a break. He shot wide. The Stars pressed with 5 minutes left. And then with 3:18 left, they called a penalty on Sekera for trying not to get hit in the head. Essentially what happened, he collides with a player at center ice, and they gave him, I think it was interference. And Bonus was ticked off, and so was all the Stars fans. Because I don't understand. I guess from one angle it might have looked like interference, but clearly he was ducking. The puck's going overhead. He's trying not to get hit in the head. It's collision. He doesn't even mean to touch the play. It's just... Anyways, so that takes 2 extra minutes off the clock. And that basically killed it off for Dallas. I'm not saying Dallas would have come back and tied it or anything, but that just... I don't blame Bonus for being angry with that. So Columbus wins 3-2. They go to 10-10-5. Dallas drops to 6-8-4. If it wasn't for bad luck, they wouldn't have any luck at all right now. The 3 stars, Jenner, Heiskanen, and Korpisalo. So Korpisalo had a very good game. Shots were 6-5 Dallas in the first. It was slow. 9 apiece in the second, and 9-8 Dallas in the third. Final shots 24-22 for the Dallas Stars. Power plays, both teams went 0-2 on the power play, so Dallas's power play remains cold. Korpisalo, 22 saves on 24 shots. Hudobin saved 19 out of 22. And again, Dallas is left looking for answers, and they're kind of running out of space here because they're 6-8-4. Remember, they started 4-0, so they're 2-8-4 since that 4-0 start. It is getting kind of ugly in Dallas. That being said, I need to change boards. I'm going to apologize for any kind of crooked writing that might be on this because I had two boards up on 2 different easels, and rather than put the third easel up because that just boxes me in and it just makes the whole thing a logistical nightmare, this one I actually had in front of the easel and on its side, and so I was kind of writing sideways here. So because this was only going to be for the first period, and then I was going to be able to finish this board and have this one sitting in front. You guys know what I mean. So it's Blasty night. Yay, Blasty jerseys. And Calgary, Thank you. Thank you for winning wearing a reverse retro. That's nice. Reverse retros didn't have a great night, but this was nice. And this was an important victory for Calgary, and you could tell they knew they needed this. Brett Ritchie scores from Ryan and Anderson at 2:22. So there's Brett Ritchie, who was a cast-off, unwanted, picked up by Calgary. Derek Ryan, who they waived, he gets an assist early. And Anderson, who's had a rough time of it. His plus-minus has been rough too. So these are three guys combining on the goal. That's good news. Dubé then scores from Tkachuk and Lindholm at 2:59. We didn't know how good a game Dylan Dubé was about to have. But this is the one thing. If you're going to take one thing out of this with Calgary, there still is an issue with playing the full 60. So Norris scores from Tkachuk and Brown at 5:25. And so it makes it 2-1. And it's one of those things that Calgary's going to have to work on. However, Monahan scores at 11:56. And the damning thing about the Monahan goal isn't as much that they get 3 goals. It's that they got 3 goals on 4 shots. Ottawa was out shooting them to that stage of the game, and the score was 3-1 in favor of Calgary. The Sens tried to answer. The Flames pressed with 5 minutes left. And then in the last minute of that first period, a goal is scored by, right here, Josh Levo. See, it's perfect night for me to wear the Levo jersey because this happened and Levo gets a goal. His first as a Flame. Kicked the monkey off of his back on that one. He scores from Goudreau and Monahan at 19:20. Yeah, I felt pretty good about that. So it's 4-1 after one. Not that good. I could wear the Levo jersey if the Canucks win. And they did. Spoiler alert. Sorry. Second period. DeCord started the second period, which it felt like it was a mercy pull as much as anything. And again, the Ryan Murray storyline is really weird. Murray plays really well for a few games, and then nope. And there's Pittsburgh fans nodding, going, "We told you." Shots were 4-2 for the Sens at 5 minutes, but the puck goes the other way, and it's Dubé with his second from Tkachuk and Giordano at 7 minutes and 16 seconds. So that made it 5-1. Senators would get a power play. They don't score on it. The Senators had a bunch of power plays in this game. They do eventually get a power play goal, but still, with a score like this, I don't know if an effective power play would have made it a whole lot better. Third period at 1:17, Dylan Dubé gets the hat trick goal from Tkachuk at 1:17. So Tkachuk, he had 4 assists tonight. Good night for Matthew Tkachuk, getting the 4 points and all that. I would guess that there's some kind of a friendly bet between Matthew and Brady Tkachuk, where one owes the other one beer or something along those lines for being the better of the two during this setup. At least I would hope so. I'd hope there's some kind of a friendly wager between siblings. Power play then for the Sens, and it works. And it works relatively quickly after that 6-1 goal. So Anisimov scores from Brandstrom at 2:21. Nice to see Brandstrom on the board, and that's Anisimov's first as well, I believe. The Senators then went right back to the power play, but the Flames killed that off. And then it's Ryan Dzingel. He's back in Ottawa. Was one of my favorite Sens. Nice to see him on the board. He gets a goal from Chabot at 6 minutes. But then Ryan gets a goal. His first of the season from Ritchie. So Ritchie with a goal and an assist in this one. And at 7:05, that made it 7-3. And yet the Sens were leading in shots at the time that 7th goal was scored. So for Ottawa, you're kind of left scratching your head. And with 4:37 left, the Sens get another power play, but this was done. The Senators dropped to 8-17-1. Calgary goes to 11-11-2. And again, Calgary's going into very important games against Edmonton. If they can beat Edmonton, they can rein them in a bit. Montreal's not setting the world on fire right now either. Calgary is still in the running for that 4th spot in the Northern Division. They're absolutely in the running for that spot. So, 3 stars, Dubé, Ryan, and Tkachuk. Very nice. Shots in this one favored Calgary in the first 11-7, but then Ottawa 17-11 in the second and 8-7 in the third. Final shots 32-29 in favor of the Sens. Power plays, Ottawa 1 for 6 on the power play, Calgary 0 for 1. So Calgary didn't need the power play in this one. Hits were 16 each. Block shots 11-8 for Calgary. Matt Murray saved 7 out of 11, and then DeCord saved 15 out of 18. Riddick saves 29 out of 32. That's another thing, too. I don't think Riddick had a great game, but he didn't need to. They win at 7-3, so Riddick wins one where he's not necessarily great, but those pads, those blasty pads, are fantastic. So mask and the pads, big thumbs up. I want them to keep them. I want them to keep those pads. So, all right, moving along. So you would think that at some point in this game I relaxed. You would be wrong. So, no Pedersen. That was announced earlier today. I didn't do another news video because, full disclosure, I went out, got myself a new bike today from Sport Check. I've also got a phone holder for the bike. So, on the Entertainment Guy, I'll be doing videos when I'm on my bike. So there you go. Virtanen would score early in this one. So as odd as me going out to get a bike today, and not a motorbike, a regular like mountain bike, I'm not crazy. From Hughes and Pearson at 2:59. Not like Yvonne would let me be out on a motorcycle either. But yeah, Hughes and Pearson with the assist on Jake Virtanen's goal. Virtanen scores early in this. So it's a weird night. No Pedersen, and the Canucks score first. And it's Virtanen. Hall then did help the shot in. I think it was gone in anyways, but Hall kind of helped it in. It was the first shot by the Canucks. Leafs then tried to answer. Lots of pressure by Toronto from there on. Demko made saves. The shots were 5-3 for the Leafs at the half, but they were in full control at that second half. Hutchinson saved a couple. Edler takes a penalty because that's what he does. The Leafs get the power play on that. Demko stopped a tip from Thornton, but then after the power play ended, it's Engvall from Mikheyev at 17:15. So it's 1-1 after one. And I'm looking at the shots and I'm saying this could get really ugly if the Canucks keep allowing shots like this. Second period, Leafs were swarming early. In fact, the shots were 6-0, 2.5 minutes into the second period. So again, I'm thinking, all right, so Demko's keeping it tied for now. But at some point, this has got to fall apart, right? Some point, probably. And it's just that's the way this goes. It's not a big deal. It's not the end of the world. But Virtanen fanned on a chance. Demko stopped a good one from Riley. Riley with a fast break in on the wing. Demko, after doing that, the Canucks end up getting a power play. So, yeah. There was a shorthanded 2-on-1. Mikheyev was denied. It was a JT Miller turnover. Worthy of note that it was a Miller turnover. So going back to something I said earlier in this video. With Miller, I think sometimes it's when he tries to make the pretty pass, when he tries to thread a pass or to pass back or something, rather than taking the simple play, he might be trying something that is a little riskier. So if it clicks, it looks great. But in this case, when it becomes a turnover, it can end up looking worse. So, and especially when he's at the blue line. And I'm sure there are fans saying, why is he at the blue line? Can we put him in front of the net? I'm not going to disagree. But anyways, that didn't go in. And then a power play marker, Virtanen with his second of the game. It's the first time in his career he's had 2 goals in a game from Gaudette and Myers at 11:29. And I couldn't resist. I wrote on the board, quick Jim, trade him. Work the phones right now. I've got a guy who's got 2 goals tonight. He makes $2.5 million. Do you want him? Do you want him? Do you want him now? How about now? So just getting around. If Jake Virtanen can turn this around, if he can get hot, especially if it turns out Pedersen's going to be out for a while, if Virtanen can be a go-to guy for a short while, I have no problem with the team keeping him. I have no problem with it because I can still see some upside in his game. It's the consistency. It's the consistency that's been a problem. Horvat then almost got another one. Bo Horvat had a great game in this one. Leafs then draw a power play, but that's killed off. The Canucks penalty kill looked good tonight, considering the Leafs came into tonight with a power play clicking at over 40% on the road. That's insane. That's ridiculous. You're not supposed to do that. So third period, the Canucks, their fourth line was pressing. So McKellis made his, I learned how to say McKellis, or McKellich is how it was taught to say it. Now it's McKellis is how it was being said by Shorthouse tonight, so I'll go with McKellis. But honestly, really good debut for him on the fourth line. And it really shows and it exposes that if the Canucks are able to find a way to rid themselves of the more expensive guys in that bottom 6, which is like Beagle and Roussel, and bring in guys who are hardworking, maybe on entry-level type contracts, cheaper contracts in the bottom 6, it can honestly really improve that bottom 6. You can have guys who are playing really hungry, and I thought McKellis was doing that tonight. So, yeah, I wanted to point that out in this. And if you're a Canuck fan, let me know in the comment section if you thought McKellis had a good game, because I think he's earned another chance in the lineup. McEwen's another example of a guy who works very hard, and he's not being paid at the $3 million level. Demko then denied Matthews. Yep. Demko played really well against Matthews tonight. Matthews didn't really get a whole lot going. Horvat then scored from Edler and Schmidt at 7:56, and that went off Matthews' stick. Matthews didn't look very happy with that. That made it 3-1. His mustache was quite ticked. But yeah, 3-1 for Vancouver. Very fast period. This was not a lot of whistles. Both Shorthouse and Garrett said they felt like it was the fastest Canucks game that they've called. Höglander had a tip that was saved. Gaudette fires wide. Demko absolutely robbed Marner. Mitch Marner looked so dangerous in that third period and just couldn't get anything to go in the net, and he couldn't get a pass to go through to one of his more dangerous line mates. Goaltender gets pulled with 2:15 left. And again, did I relax? No. Did I put the record over the game? No. No. That's not. No. It's, really? No. Post for Matthews. So, Demko, a little bit of luck here that Matthews ends up hitting the post rather than it being post and in. Edler falls down, which allowed the Leafs to get some late chances. But while Tavares had a chance that hit the side of the net, and the Leafs struggled to try to tie it, they didn't get even a second goal to get within a goal. So the Canucks win this one 3-1. They go to 10-15-2. The Leafs drop to 18-5-2. 3 stars in this one. Virtanen, first star of the game, no argument. Demko, second star of the game, no argument with that. And Horvat, third star, again, no argument with that. Shots, 15-7 Toronto in the first, but then Toronto didn't end up being the better team. Vancouver outshoots them 12-10 in the second. Both teams had 8 shots in the third. Final shots, 33-27 for Toronto. Power plays, Toronto 0 for 2. Vancouver 1 for 1. Hits, 19-18 for Vancouver. Block shots, 18-13 for Vancouver. So, pretty good all-around game. Hutchinson saves 24 out of 27. I thought he played well. Demko saved 31 out of 32. And that's why Canuck fans get excited about him as the starter of the team. And this is the second out of 3 games now where Vancouver's looked pretty good. And they've won. And of course, in between you have the disappointing loss against Winnipeg. They don't have the ground, I don't think, to make up what they lack. Like, they're now looking at a season. They're 27 games in the season, so they have 29 left. I just don't see it. I don't see them making the playoffs, but that was a good game tonight. Fun game. And if you play spoiler, play spoiler. So, yeah, that's my advice to any Canuck fans watching. Just enjoy it. A couple goals from Jake tonight. It's fun. All right, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And hey, thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.